Mike Todd's birthday video wasn't supposed to spark outrage, but within hours, it ignited a firestorm that the church world still can't stop talking about. Pastors were shocked, believers were divided, and critics asked one chilling question. Is this really godly behavior? What you're about to discover isn't just a controversy. It's a deeper look into the blurred line between spiritual leadership and public spectacle, and the truth behind the moment that put Mike Todd under fire like never before. The reactions came fast and furious. The moment Mike Todd's birthday video hit the internet, social media erupted. Some viewers laughed it off, others defended him, but thousands more stared in disbelief, wondering how a pastor known for bold sermons and unconventional methods could step into something this explosive. Today, we're diving into the layers of that moment, the symbolism, the backlash, the unspoken tension inside the faith community, and the questions that have churchgoers whispering behind closed doors. Was it a harmless celebration, a misguided attempt at relevance, or a deeper sign that the line between ministry and entertainment has blurred beyond recognition? You won't believe the behind-the-scenes details we uncovered. From the reactions of church leaders who refused to stay silent, to the emotional responses of longtime supporters who felt blindsided, this story reveals far more than what appeared on camera. And trust me, as we peel back the timeline, the atmosphere, the hidden messages, and the decisions that led up to that video, things get even more unbelievable. Stay with me, because what happened next didn't just spark debate. It exposed fault lines within modern ministry that no one expected to be revealed so publicly. The story begins the moment the birthday video hit social media. What should have been a simple celebration for Pastor Mike Todd instantly turned into a cultural flashpoint. The clip spread faster than anyone expected, bouncing from Instagram to TikTok to church group chats across the country. One minute, people were casually scrolling through their timelines. The next, they were stopping in shock, replaying the video, asking themselves if their eyes were deceiving them. Supporters, critics, and even people who barely follow church culture were suddenly tuned in. Screenshots flew, reactions piled up, and within hours, the video was everywhere. People weren't just watching it, they were analyzing every frame. The music, the tone, the crowd, the energy around Mike Todd's celebration. Everything became part of a growing debate. Was this harmless fun from a pastor known for his charismatic style? Or did it cross a line that spiritual leaders are expected to protect? What made the situation even more intense was the timing. Transformation Church had already been under the microscope for its bold, modern approach to ministry. Mike Todd is known for pushing boundaries, challenging norms, and blending culture with faith. For some, that approach is refreshing. For others, it's dangerous. So when the birthday video surfaced, it landed on top of existing tension, like a spark hitting dry grass. Church members, who once defended him with confidence, suddenly found themselves questioning the moment. Meanwhile, critics who had been waiting for a misstep felt their suspicions confirmed. It wasn't just what the video showed, it was what it represented. A pastor celebrating in a way some felt clashed with the reverence expected from spiritual leadership. And as the discussion grew louder, the question echoing through comment sections became unavoidable. Was this a glimpse into a deeper shift happening behind the scenes? But the real shock came when early insider reactions began circulating. Responses from people who were in the room, people who knew the atmosphere firsthand. Their accounts didn't match what viewers assumed. Their descriptions of the energy, the context, and the behind-the-scenes attitude added a new layer to the controversy. And once those stories started surfacing, the situation took a turn nobody saw coming. As the video continued to circulate, the first and loudest reactions came from the faith community itself. Pastors, choir directors, longtime church mothers, and young believers all seemed to have something to say. But what made this moment stand out wasn't just the volume of responses. It was how deeply divided those responses were. The controversy didn't create one unified opinion. Instead, it split the conversation straight down the middle. On one side were those who argued that Mike Todd was simply being human. They insisted that pastors have the right to celebrate, laugh, enjoy life, and express joy without being held to an impossible standard. These supporters pointed out that church leadership doesn't erase someone's personality or their right to have moments that are unrelated to preaching. To them, this was no different than a birthday dinner, a family gathering, or any moment where a leader lets their guard down. But on the other side of the debate were believers who felt something deeper, a sense of disappointment, discomfort, or even heartbreak. These were people who had followed Mike Todd for years, admired his bold teaching style, and appreciated his passion for reaching younger generations. For them, this video felt different. They weren't angry because he celebrated. They were troubled by what the celebration represented. Many said the tone of the video didn't match the spiritual image they had come to associate with him. It wasn't about perfection, it was about perception, leadership, and the influence a pastor holds over millions of viewers. Comment sections turned into emotional battlegrounds. Some wrote paragraphs defending him. Others shared their disappointment in trembling honesty. A few expressed confusion, saying they didn't know whether to laugh, pray, or simply close their screens. And as the conversation intensified, church leaders from various backgrounds began chiming in. Their words carried weight. Some urged grace and understanding. Others urged accountability. But almost all agreed on one thing. The video had touched a nerve deeper than anyone expected. Behind the scenes, the reaction was even more intense. People close to Transformation Church began quietly discussing what the fallout could mean. Could this create distrust among members? Would it affect how newcomers viewed the ministry? Would it reinforce the growing criticism that modern churches are becoming too comfortable blending culture with sacred space? These weren't questions asked out of anger. They were asked out of genuine concern. And then came the moment that escalated everything, a wave of commentary from believers who felt personally conflicted. They weren't against Mike Todd, and they weren't joining any criticism bandwagon. Instead, they were grappling with something internal, the tension between loving a leader's ministry and questioning a leader's judgment. This emotional tug-of-war is what turned a single birthday video into a widespread conversation about faith, leadership, and the expectations placed on those in spiritual authority. The conversation grew so intense that even people outside the church world began paying attention. Suddenly, influencers, podcasters, and commentators were weighing in, each adding fuel to the fire. A video that was originally meant to be lighthearted became a national topic, and every voice seemed to stretch the controversy a little further. But things didn't stop there, because soon, more layers of the story began to surface. New perspectives, hidden context, private details about the atmosphere leading up to the celebration. And once those details emerged, the narrative shifted again. What came next would take the controversy to a level no one expected and force viewers to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the video, Mike Todd's leadership, and the reality of public ministry. To understand why this birthday video caused such an uproar, you have to go beyond the clip itself and look at the story behind it. Public controversy rarely happens in a vacuum. There are always unseen pressures, hidden expectations, and private moments that shape what the world eventually witnesses. And in this case, several layers of context help explain why the reaction was so polarizing. Those close to Transformation Church describe an atmosphere of constant motion. The ministry is known for its high production value, creative sermons, massive staff, and the nonstop energy of reaching millions around the world. Behind the scenes, weeks are packed with planning sessions, creative meetings, rehearsals, leadership development, online management, media strategies, and long hours of preparation. Mike Todd often stands at the center of this whirlwind, balancing the roles of pastor, communicator, visionary, CEO, influencer, and cultural figure all at once. People who have worked in large ministries know how demanding this can be. Every decision is magnified. Every moment is watched, every word is replayed, and every celebration, even one as personal as a birthday, comes with pressure to maintain an image that aligns with a spiritual calling. That constant tension is often invisible to the public, yet it shapes everything leaders do. As the birthday approached, the team around Mike Todd reportedly wanted to create a moment that felt joyful, lighthearted, and well-deserved. After all, the man carries an enormous weight on his shoulders. For months, he had been navigating church transitions, online criticism, leadership expectations, and the emotional demands of guiding a massive congregation. To those around him, the birthday was a chance to breathe, to show a human side, to laugh, to step out of the seriousness of ministry for just a moment. However, this is where the story takes a complicated turn. What feels perfectly normal behind closed doors can take on a very different meaning once it reaches the public. Context gets lost, nuance disappears, and without the atmosphere of the room, without the tone of the moment, without the personal relationships involved, the viewer sees only a 30-second clip, stripped from the setting, stripped from the relationship dynamics, and stripped from the intention. This disconnect became the heart of the controversy. People who were physically present at the celebration described it as harmless and joyful. They said the mood was relaxed, the laughter was genuine, and the celebration was in no way meant to disrespect the faith or cross any spiritual lines. But the wider audience saw something else entirely, and that gap between intention and perception is what triggered the uproar. Worse yet, the clip circulated without any explanation. No caption, no context, no commentary. There was nothing to guide interpretation. As a result, viewers filled in the gaps with their own assumptions. Some believed the behavior was inappropriate for a pastor. Others questioned whether the environment aligned with the values Mike Todd publicly preaches. And still others wondered if this was part of a bigger shift in how the church blends spirituality with entertainment. The deeper issue was not just the video, but what it symbolized. For many believers, it tapped into long-standing concerns about modern ministries leaning too far into showmanship. For others, it reflected the growing tension between authenticity and accountability in spiritual leadership. And for some, it forced them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Even beloved leaders can make decisions that raise eyebrows. Yet the real turning point came when insiders started hinting that the video was only a small window into a larger dynamic. They suggested that the pressure to constantly innovate, inspire, and stay relevant may have contributed to how the celebration unfolded. Some even pointed to an underlying exhaustion, the kind that comes from years of being watched, judged, praised, criticized, and dissected by millions. This insight changed the conversation. Suddenly, it wasn't just about the video anymore. It became a question about what it means to lead in the spotlight, how pastors navigate expectations they never asked for, and what happens when the human side of leadership collides with the public's demand for perfection. But the most surprising revelations were still ahead, because the more people dug into the story, the more they realized that the controversy was exposing something much bigger than a single video. It was revealing long-ignored fractures in how modern ministry is viewed, judged, and handled. And the moment those deeper layers came into the light, everything about the conversation shifted.